Mr. Gasani.
Yes.
Ms. Saunders won't be at the meeting today, so you will assume the role of chair. So when you are ready, I think that we can begin, correct, City Secretary?
That is correct, thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm ready. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so welcome everyone to another virtual meeting. Hope everybody's doing well under the challenging circumstances. We'll call our meeting to order. Do we have any public comment today?
No, we do not.
We do not. Okay, so we'll proceed to our next agenda item, which is to confirm the minutes of the last meeting. So do I have a motion to approve the meetings of the last meeting?
Mr. Gasani, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, could you please read the captions before we move on to anything, before each item?
Got it. Okay. So the consideration of an action on the minutes of the May 20th, 2020 meeting and May 27th, 2020 special meeting. Those are the meeting minutes we are trying to confirm. So do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, great. Thanks.
Mr. Gasani, could you repeat who those, I think it was Ms. McCutcheon and then a second by Sewell. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. Next item is agenda number 5, public hearing and resolution. Public hearing. Sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. McCutcheon.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No. We vote on this second. Did we vote on the minutes?
You all need to vote on the minutes.
Okay. Okay. My apologies. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. Yeah. Do we have everyone? Okay. Did we get that?
Yes, we did. Just after the yays, you just say, is there anybody opposed? And then we'll know.
Okay. So is anybody opposed? Okay. Great. No one.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So move on to the next one, public hearing and resolution. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2020-07-03. A resolution of the Board of the Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund improvements at Mayfield Park. Consideration and action on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2020-07-03, a resolution of the Board of the Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund improvements at Mayfield Park. And we have Ms. Andrea Broughton, who will help us with this. Do we have anybody present on the call from the public?
No, we did not.
I believe she's gonna have to do her presentation before we open it for public comment.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. So we'll wait.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, yeah, so is that, we're just gonna skip the first slide, I guess. That's the second slide that's up right now. That's the third slide. That's the fourth.
Could we go back to the beginning, please? Thank you.
Okay, So we'll start here. Good afternoon, board, SL4B board. My name is Andrea Broughton. I'm part of the engineering team as assistant city engineer. I don't think I've had the privilege of attending or presenting to this board yet, but today we have the Mayfield Park restroom project finding and funding resolution for your consideration, which will be after the public hearing is held on the project. First, I'll provide a brief background of the project before we discuss the details of the funding request. The Mayfield Park Improvement Project was completed in summer of 2018. Following the successful opening of the park, there was a public engagement meeting that was held in the spring of 2019, where the residents requested a bathroom be installed at this park. Following this request, the city evaluated and explored if there were any feasible options or opportunities for this. And then we found that with the use of CDBG funds, we were able to start the design phase of the project in the fall of 2019 and move forward with the bid of this project this past spring. In that bid, we received a successful bidder in accordance with all the requirements of the city and CDBG. And we look to move forward with the start of the construction of these improvements this summer. Next slide. Just a little background on the funding. The CDBG funds provided $278,000 for this project, which were used to fund the purchase of the prefabricated restroom structure and the design phase and professional services. This left the budget with $83,488.92. Upon receipt of the bids in April of this past spring, the lowest responsive bid was $130,754.66. With the current available budget, additional funding is needed in the amount of $48,000 to complete the construction of the restroom in the park. Next slide. Here, I just took a snapshot so you can see a layout of the existing project location with the proposed location of the restroom facility shown with the red rectangle called out in the middle of the park. And you can see also there's currently a basketball court out here with a playground with a pavilion and a trail meandering throughout the park. Next slide, please. In this slide, we can see a photo of the restroom structure. If you notice, it has the dark brown metal roof, brick veneer, and light siding. The structure has similar elements as the existing pavilion structure currently located near the playground. Next slide, please. Proposed actions for moving forward is we'd like to move forward to execute the project, taking this item to City Council to recommend award to the Car Development Company with an anticipated construction start this fall in September and completion in November. Next slide, please. So the next steps for this project would be for the board to first hold a public hearing and then consider the resolution 2020-07-03, which provides funds to the Mayfield Park Restroom Improvement Project in the amount of $48,000. If approved this evening, the city will proceed to recommend the award at the next City Council meeting. Next slide, please. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have after the public hearing is held. Thank you.
We need to open it up for public hearing.
So we'll open it up for public hearing. Do we have anyone on this topic from the general public?
No, we do not.
We do not? Okay.
We'll close the public hearing.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and we can open it up for questions and answers. All right, anyone questions?
Yes. I'd like to move we approve this.
Okay. Great. So if there are no further questions, we can one motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Everyone in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposing? None. Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Our next item on the agenda is the workshop review of and discussion on the fiscal year 2020 projections and the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget. And we have our budget manager, and please forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Razida Bhushan.
For Brown, I'm going to be presenting this afternoon.
Oh, okay, all right.
Instead of Rita, but very good with her name.
Okay.
All right, so good afternoon. I am here to discuss with you the proposed budget for fiscal year for fiscal year 20 and 21. So next slide, please. What I'd like to do before we start is recognize that the corporation, one of the areas that are being impacted by the COVID-19 impact on our sales tax. And so going into the budget process, we recognize this and we prepared some estimates on what we would actually be the worst case for the impact. And we anticipated at some point we will see up to a 75% reduction in food and entertainment for the first. Well, we thought that we would be under economic shutdown, and then 50% reduction in those two categories for the remainder of the year. Fortunately, that has not come to play. We've actually seen less of an impact. But we've gone ahead and adjusted our projections. We did adjust downward our expenditure projections through a reduction for opportunity funding to be able to offset any maximum anticipated decline. And so the projections also reflect the impact of the refunding bonds that we did earlier this year. So you'll see savings in the debt service account. And another thing that is impacting this because of the impacts to sales tax and to the tourism industry, you'll recall there's a lot of people who stopped traveling. And so the economic development at our person just
Hi, Jennifer?
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, it's Nishad. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if it's just me or it seems like I'm hearing another word.
Yeah, I talk every day. My internet connection gets a little wonky, so thank you. Is this better?
Much better. Much better.
I'll get closer to the microphone.
Thank you.
All right, so you have a couple of functions within the economic development staff who are normally supported by the tourism fund who are now more focused on our business recovery process. And so you'll see some shift in support for those positions to the corporation, and I'll point those out as we go through. But we did review this with our budget committee, who are board members, Mr. Atkinson and Ms. Sewell, last week. Was that last week? Yeah, on the 9th. It seems like a while ago, but it was just like less than a week ago. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what the numbers look like. And so we had a total budget of $33.84 million in, and this is just revenues. And we're currently projecting $33.58 million, which is a little bit less than $300,000 impact. There was a point where we anticipated that impact to be much greater in our sales tax. And so this projection reflects actual sales tax to date through July. And then we have our projections for August and September that are still carrying the 50% reduction in retail and food and entertainment. We're also seeing interest income come in slightly lower than budget, and our other revenues have come in at budget for the TERS 1 assignment and our miscellaneous revenues, which is the lease payment for the parking lot at Constellation Field. In the non-operating revenues, we have our bond proceeds, which is the refunding bond issue that we sold back in October. And so that summarizes our total revenues for fiscal year 20. Next slide, please. On the expenditure side, we are projecting budget for most areas. You'll see for both the economic development program, contractual services, we are, and our incentives, they're all at budget. The debt service line item, you'll see there's about $300,000 in savings. That is the impact of the refunding bonds that we did in October. And so that translates into real debt service savings over the remaining life of the bonds, which for Constellation Field were 25-year bonds. So we're going to have quite a while of recognizing that savings, but that's a nice cushion to have. We have our refunding costs, which include the payment to the escrow agent, along with the cost of issuance for those refunding bonds at $27.15 million. And then on the reserve for opportunities line, you can see that's where we are reducing. We reduced that by $800,000, and that is actually that does not reflect the shift of that $48,000 that we just discussed with the Mayfield Park restroom. So you'll see in the next version of the income statement, when I bring it back to you, it will show a reallocation from that line to the capital project line item, which currently it is shown at $710,000. The transfers to other fund line item is currently projected at $819,000 compared to the budget of $699,000. That is where we have reallocated a portion of the economic development staffing for those that are currently being supported, normally supported by tourism dollars, and looking to both this corporation and the SLDC to add some support to those functions as they're focused more on economic development efforts through the pandemic. Excuse me, that should help my voice too. So overall, our expenditures were projected to come in about $1 million less than we had built into the original budget. So next slide, please. And so overall, what that looks like is with the $33.58 million in revenue, the $37 million in expenditures, we'll have a net income, a drawdown of revenue under expenditures of about $2.5 million. And a large part of that is still the $3 million that we have set aside as reserve for opportunity funding. And so at this point, it doesn't look like we'll be spending those funds, and so those will drop to the bottom line. I would anticipate at year end, we'll be, we'll end the year that much better than budgeted. And so just leaving the flexibility into the budget, we end the year with $2.8 million in our fund balance, and that is still $1.9 million higher than the policy requirements. All right, next slide, please. So then going into fiscal year 21, we are taking, we ran several scenarios, and so we're taking the approach at this point of that we're going to continue to see some impact on the sales tax revenue for estimated around 6 months of fiscal year 21 right now. And so we have the sales tax budgeted based on a 30% reduction in the retail and food and entertainment, continuing through the first 6 months of the year. And that is a deviation from the way we would normally budget, but recognizing that this is not a normal budget year. And we're actually still debating with the city manager as to whether that 30% is the right number or not. So when we get our August number, what you see in August may be a little different because we're continuing to refine this as we get more information on real-time data that we're getting on transactions. And so we're doing our best to estimate this figure as closely as we can, but please recognize that this is still a work in progress, and I do not have a crystal ball. And the one thing I can tell you about this number is that it's not going to be right, but we have to have a budget, and we have to have a budget estimate for our revenues. So at this point, we're looking at $5,649,000, and so that is still even lower than what we're projecting for this year, but it is recognizing that this could continue, and we do anticipate it continuing based on the way the virus is currently, spreading, and that we could continue to see the economic impacts for some time. So for our interest income, we are estimating $125,000, and the TERS 1 assignment, which, just to remind you, is that is the assignment for the parking garage spaces that the corporation contributed to the construction of in the Texas garage, which is the parking garage that is the same block where Escalante's and Rupor are. It's that big garage. And so the corporation paid for around 400 spaces of that garage, and the developer purchased some of those back. But the TERS is assigning revenue to cover the remaining debt service for those spaces. And so that's $145,000 in fiscal year 21. And then we have our parking lot lease payment of $80,000, which gives us just under $6 million. It's actually like $300 shy of $6 million for our revenue estimate for fiscal year 21. All right, next slide, please. And then for the fiscal year 21 budget, we have not changed the economic development program budget. We're leaving it at $561,000. We have the incentives built in at $37,500. That is the sales tax incentive for the First Colony Mall outdoor upgrades that were made, and that is a performance-based agreement. And so they have to meet the sales tax thresholds before that payment is made. But we've gone ahead and budgeted for an estimate there. Contractual services is not changing, and it is budgeted at $12,000. And debt service at $3.02 million. And so you'll see there's that $300,000 savings is reflected there as well. And we're estimating $1.7 million that we would be setting aside in reserve for opportunities. And realistically, we would be adding, if we needed to, we have that $3 million that we have in the current year projections that would be available. So it really gives us a total of around $4.7 million that would be available to address opportunities if the board desired. For capital projects, we have 3 projects budgeted at $650,000, and actually have those projects listed on the next slide. And then our transfers to other funds would continue. We're estimating $881,000 for fiscal year 21, and this includes the support for the economic development staffing, as well as support for public arts, for the cultural arts manager. Is that the right title? I can't ever remember the title of the position, but so for fiscal year 21, we're anticipating that filling that position and having that supported by the 4B Corporation. So that gives us total expenditures of $6.86 million. Next slide, please.
Hey, Jennifer, can I just ask I didn't ask this question before, but I'm just curious. Why wouldn't we reduce the reserve for opportunities so that the expenditure and the revenues would be matched or closer to be matched at the $6 million that we're expecting to take in?
Well, we treat that as a one-time expenditure. And so what would happen if we don't show that reserve for opportunity line item, then if something comes up, like we would then be showing a large fund balance building up. And so we would have to do budget amendments, come to the board, ask for a budget amendment, and then go to the city council and ask for a budget amendment. And so while it gives us more flexibility to deal with things that may come up during the year, but it still because would be a reallocation and it would still involve board approval for use of those funds. But just having those appropriated in the budget gives a lot more flexibility to be able to move forward whenever things come up.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so for fiscal year 21, we have 3 capital projects planned, and they are the 3 projects, actually 4 projects budgeted this year, but these 3 are our annual programs. And for fiscal year 21, we're recommending that the 4B Corporation support the entire $250,000 for the public art project, because the tourism fund is not going to have, we're not anticipating them to have any funds available. You are already supporting it at $210,000 this year, so it's just a $40,000 increase, but it keeps the program going and allows us to continue to have that capital investment in art. We're continuing to fund the joint participation in CIP at $200,000, and just in anticipation of questions that because we have not awarded any joint participation agreements this year, that you still have the $200,000 in fiscal year 20. And so once we're ready to move forward with that process, you actually have a total of $400,000 that we could work with. And then the last project is the landscape replacement for major roadways enhancements, and that's the beautification projects. And whenever Public Works is ready to move forward with that, they will bring forward their plan with the funding resolution for that. So total is $650,000 in capital projects. All right, next slide, please.
Question?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we did comment on or discuss at the budget committee hearing or budget committee meeting was that some of those projects may be discretionary as to timing, I believe. As you get further, as you begin to get into quarter 1 or quarter 2 of the fiscal year, you may or may not have a better fix on your revenues, and some of these discretionary expenditures it may be helpful that they're not yet scheduled. I don't remember what we concluded other than it was a comment we might want to pass along as a part of our budget process.
Definitely. And that's as well with the Reserve for Opportunity funding. If we decide to end up reducing the ultimate sales tax budget, that would be where we would reduce more than likely in this corporation. So thank you. Good point. Okay, so this slide illustrates the remaining debt service that the corporation has. The debt goes out to 2036, and that is going to be the debt associated with Constellation Field. It was issued in 2011, and so that was a 25-year issue. And so we kept the maturity schedule when we did the refunding, but you'll see in 21 we're staying at the $3 million level, and then in 22 you can see that that's starting to drop off, and that is going to be some of the issues which I never thought I'd be here to see this day, but some of the issues I actually sold early in my career with the city are coming to a close. And so there was a 2002 issue associated with the Marriott Conference Center, and with girls softball in fiscal year 25, you'll have another drop off, and so you're starting to see some of those older bond issues pay off, and so that will give us additional capacity in the future. So other than making me feel old, it's a good picture. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so just to summarize our revenue estimates for fiscal year 21, right now we're looking at just under $6 million in revenue and $6.86 million in expenditures. So it is a net income of a drawdown of $864,000, but we have an ending fund balance of $2.53 million, and we still have $1.68 million available in the fund balance that's over the fund balance policy. And so those funds would be available in the out years And so I believe the next slide is the 5-year forecast. If you can move forward, please. Yes. Okay. So this kind of shows you how that plays out. And so we're using our, in fiscal year 22, we're estimating that our sales tax revenue would get back to more normal levels, around 6.7 million. And then we're growing that in the out years by CPI and by a 3% increase. And so in each year we've set aside, the next line is the reserve for opportunity funding. And so that is treated as one time, and it's not cumulative. So like I said, we have the 3 million in fiscal year 20, and then you could add that to this 13, 14 million almost over the 5-year period, and you've got total of around $17 million that over time we could utilize. We could leverage it to issue debt, or we can pay cash for some projects. But this is setting it in that forecast on a cash basis, so that when you're looking at the forecast, you don't see a big, huge fund balance, that where we've got, by the end of the forecast, we have $17 million sitting there. This is capturing that on an annual basis. And overall, the goal is to try to kind of maintain that balance of the net income and ensure that we're over policy in each year. But even by the end of the forecast, we still have 670,000 over the policy requirements. So we still have a little bit more flexibility in the forecast. Next slide, please. All right, and what are the next steps? So we will get our August sales tax. If I remember correctly, it's going to be around the 10th of the month. It's the second Friday, so we usually get that on Wednesday. So at your August board meeting, we will be bringing this back with updated projections and any changes to the revenue estimates for fiscal year 21. And so at that meeting, we would ask you to amend the fiscal year 20 budget and then adopt or approve a recommended budget to City Council. And then this budget will be filed next week with the City Council along with the city's budget. And we'll go through a series of budget workshops. And then the City Council will have to approve your budget as part of the budget ordinance in September. And that's currently scheduled for September 15th. Next slide, please. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Jennifer, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My recollection is that when the plaza was reconstructed out there, that the developer fronted us the money and we were going to pay him back over like 3 years or something. Have we paid all that back, and where does that money come from?
Yes, sir. That was paid this year. And so we had $750,000 in the fiscal year 20 budget to make that payment to the developer. So that was the corporation's obligation on that.
Okay, and so that's the last payment?
It was a one-time payment, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Porter, we are finishing up our paperwork on that and have not yet actually processed the payment, but it is scheduled for this fiscal year to be processed. Because if we pay it in outlying years, there's interest that we must pay on. Okay. So we'll be completing that for FY20.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that is included in the incentive line in the fiscal year 20 projections.
So, Jennifer, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
What are you assuming about the resumption of the Smart Financial Center in 2021? FY 2021. When and how does that crank up again? And what's your assumption there?
That is a very good question. And right now I don't have an answer for you. What I'm hearing, and Devin, you can kind of help me out on this, or Jim, is that we're not expecting any shows really to pick up until calendar year 2021, just based on the tours not resuming and things like that. So not expecting a lot of activity, at least through the remainder of this year. That's what I'm hearing. But at this point, it would be really just the sales tax impact to the corporation, and that would fall under that food and entertainment sector. And so that's part of the measure of, or I guess what's kind of leading us to, is this assumption the best, the most accurate? And, until something actually starts happening, we won't know. And so we just have to make estimates at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I have a comment. I was pleasantly surprised to see the 2020 budget. I was really expecting a dip in the revenues, but so good to see that even due to COVID, the city has done so well. So kudos to everybody, really, the leadership and the staff.
I never thought I would be happy to see a 22% reduction in our sales tax, but when you're estimating a 55% reduction in 1 month, a 22% reduction sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Appreciate it. Next item is Director's Report, Marketing, Promotions and Events, Strategic and Capital Projects, Business Recruitment and Retention Efforts, and then we have our Assistant Director of Economic Development, Ms. Devin Rodriguez.
Hello, everybody. Okay, we're putting up the slide. So mainly just a few updates for you. Of course, I'm here and Elizabeth is on leave. She will be returning at the end of September. Her baby did arrive and mama and baby are doing great. So that is some wonderful news for everybody. In terms of our work, so we have launched our All In for SLTX campaign. And we have been working on two things mainly. The Sweet Cash component, which we are continuing to roll out and promote and market. It was a little bit challenging in the time that we released it because of sort of the resurgence discussions that we're starting and now kind of where we are now with more encouragement for people to stay at home. So we are continuing to push the message, looking at options for businesses that might be doing more like curbside gift card pickup or electronic pickup that we would be able to verify with a Sugarland location, not somewhere that has multiple locations. So we're looking at some of those options and continuing to push the message. So far, we've had over 100 submissions. We've had that totals over, I think we're at about the $10,000 mark of people's private money that they are investing into these businesses. And then, of course, we are matching them with our gift cards. So about $20,000. And then we are also, a lot of people, or about half of the people have been nominating specific frontline workers. And so working on verifying those and getting those gift cards out to those frontline workers. And then we are working with our hospitals right now and grocery stores for how we can give out the other frontline worker gift cards that have been earned. But overall, for businesses that have done a great job of promoting it at their business, whether they be a Sweet Cash participating business or a non-Sweet Cash participating business, they're seeing a great benefit because they are marketing it to their consumers and their consumers are buying gift cards. And I think the last point I'll make on Sweet Cash is that people are not buying small gift cards. Our average gift card amount is about $100. So people are definitely buying larger gift card amounts in order to support our businesses. In terms of the overall All In for SLTX campaign, we have been doing some more virtual, obviously not event-based or not in-person event-based type marketing for our businesses. So if you've been following us on the Visit Sugarland on Facebook and Instagram, and then also our LinkedIn pages, there have been some videos that have been created for specific businesses to help promote them to a larger consumer base. So that is another aspect of our All In for SLTX campaign that we have been implementing. On the business development front, activity is still continuing where our businesses are looking around for space, mainly in the industrial sector, obviously not office. And so nobody's making any final decisions right now, but there definitely is prospect activity. And then I'm hoping that next month or the month after, we'll have some news to share for you all on a couple of projects that we've been working on, retention and recruitment based. So with that, I think that ends sort of the main report pieces, unless there's any questions. Yes, Councilmember Kamali.
Devin, on Sweet Cash, I got the report in our FYI package last week, and it was about 7,500. I think you said it's 10,000 now. Do you feel that's slow?
We were hoping to have a little bit of higher numbers than we have, and that's why we're continuing to sort of push out more of the message to other groups. So, but I think a lot of it has to do with the current activity that is happening right now. People are not in the mindset to be going out and purchasing. So more people are staying at home.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, but I know I passed by Bahama Bucks the other day and there was a line probably 30 deep in line in Starbucks on Sunday morning. My wife and I went to, and I decided to go to Shipley's instead because there was no line. So people are out. I think there's a big miss somehow or another, because I did mine. My wife submitted hers, and I see Amy got hers as well. And, I got 4 different gift cards to Baskin Robbins, to Ailings, and I can't remember the other 2, but all 4 places that I know I'm going to not use just $20. I'm going to end up spending $40, $50, $60. And that's the whole goal behind this.
Correct.
I just think that if all of us that are directors here on Sugar Land 4B, if we can make a commitment, maybe we can get, and I'm sure you've done this, but maybe we get every one of our staff members at the city to talk to their friends and relatives, put it on their social media. I think we've got to see a little bit more of a push, because I remember Mayor saying, go big or go home. You remember that?
Yes.
When we said 250,000 and he said, let's get to 500,000. How are we going to get there this low?
Right. And that's why we've been pushing some more marketing efforts. So like we're putting the marquee signs up at SSC and Constellation Field. We have a flyer that has been developed and put out to all of our primary employers so that they can share with all of their employees. We're working on a direct mail right now, so that hasn't gone out yet, but it's part of that additional marketing push to get the word out there for people that Sweet Cash is out there, and whatever anybody on this call can do in terms of sharing it on your social media platforms with your family and friends, we greatly appreciate that.
Okay. I can tell you that my place of business has not gotten it. I know Cindy did ask me for another person.
Yes.
Is that what you're waiting on?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I will reply to her email, because it would be great for me to circulate a flyer via email, because most of our folks are remote.
Correct.
But we have a lot of Sugar Land residents that work for us at my company as well.
Correct. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Devin?
Yeah, Devin, I mean, if there is a way to send us, I mean, certainly me a flyer, the places I go, if it could say something about buy a gift card and get a gift card, I would give it to them.
We'll share the flyer with the board if anybody would like to use that as a way of sharing the word rather than sharing a social media post.
I did do social media when you first did it also, but I mean, some of the places I go, like, I mean, I've told you, I did one with my nail place. I bought the gift certificate. Now, they may not be part of the Sweet Cash, but if we post something that says, I get this, then that could help. And I'll be happy to, the places I go, I'll go take it to them.
So we'll do another follow-up email to all of you, because we did also last week finalize a toolkit that would be that any business in Sugar Land could use. Like originally we gave it to the Sweet Cash participating business so they would know how the program worked and how they could get the word out there. But we finalized one that any Sugar Land business could use, just providing them wording, messaging, of how they can market it. And so we'll get that out to the board along with the flyer, so you guys can continue to do your promotion of it as well.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Devin. Oh, sorry, Ms. Mukachan, was that you?
Yes, thank you. Someone buys $200 gift cards, did they get?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you very well.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
You're breaking up.
I'll ask you later.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so thanks, Devin, and that brings this meeting to an end. Thank you all so much for joining today, and stay safe and stay healthy, and hopefully we'll see you all next month.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
we have
to do a motion.
Yeah, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, wait.
Yeah, slow down.
Who's our first?
Yeah, who's the first?
I'll do it.
Adjourn, Noshad, and
Okay, Molly is first.
And then Amy got Amy.
I'll do second.
Amy was second.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.